it's stunning that 70% of your colleagues, like, we walk in with we're just out the door, right? How did that manifest itself, what you just described, this lack of interest in enforcing the civil rights laws of the country, the lack of interest in standing in between the pillars of the rule of law that touches on every aspect of our lives? How did they do that? What did they say? They just basically, like, you would bring a case or a matter and they go, no, we're not doing that. Or they just tell you directly, guess what? Don't waste your time. We're going in a different direction.
Yeah, I think it was pretty direct. I think the realization sort of slowly dawned on people that there was no interest from this administration in enforcing civil rights laws. And not only that, they were going to weaponize those same laws against the very people they were designed to protect.
How? What's an example? Because like in Chicago, for example, there's a civil rights, an investigation has been opened from the Civil Rights Division into the mayor, because apparently he's hired too many black people in Chicago.
Right. Well, that's a perfect example. So Title VI, and this is a law that only the Justice Department has the ability to enforce. Mm-hmm. So there's a wonderful civil rights bar, but they can't enforce some of these laws. Only the department can do it. And so with Title VI was there to protect people against discriminatory actions. And so instead of using it to protect people against genuine discrimination, they're using it to act on reverse discrimination and really on cases with very thin evidence. And they're using it to engage in pressure campaigns like the one we saw against UVA on a very, very thin read. You see a department that used to act with enormous integrity and detail and ability to really bring that case and have people listen. This department is not checking those boxes or going through those details before they do it. They're willing to just make the accusation. And unfortunately, it's working. They're able to use those civil rights laws against people that they were meant to protect.
Can you tell us a little bit about the work you did in the wake of George Floyd's murder? Because I think it helps illustrate some of what it was that the Civil Rights Division was working on.
Yes, so I was on the team that investigated the Minneapolis Police Department after George Floyd was murdered. We opened that investigation to look into what we call a pattern or practice of misconduct by police departments. So not what one officer did, but what were the problems across the department, those deep institutional problems that made what happened to George Floyd possible. So that was the investigation that I worked on most intensely while I was there. And we put just an enormous amount of effort into going through documents really meticulously and really understanding the department's policies. We issued the findings of our investigation to explain systemic violations that we saw in use of force, in First Amendment rights. But the next thing that we do, we don't hold our punches in the Civil Rights Division when it's time for investigation, but then we would turn around and work alongside the jurisdiction to improve it and gain their trust and really work collaboratively with them. We've been able to do that successfully in so many places across the country. And we were really excited to do that in Minneapolis, and we just won't have the chance.
And then what happened?
Well, we had been hoping to continue our work with the city. The city wanted us to be there, helping them with their reforms. But then a few days before the anniversary of George Floyd's murder, the new administration pulled all of the investigative findings that we'd put out. And said they would no longer stand by them and they would no longer act on those cases to remedy those violations. So that includes places like Memphis, where we found another really, really troubling pattern, particularly of excessive force, where Tyre Nichols was killed. And now the department's not going to be able to take action to help Memphis create fair and constitutional policing.
What was their argument when they said, oh, we're not going to, hold these cases or hold these findings up anymore, we're not going to back them? What did they give you a rationale, or was it, oh, too much DEI, we gotta clean the streets?
I don't think people on the attorney level got much of an explanation at all. The public explanation was that there had been this research done and they reassessed our findings. I find that really hard to believe that there was any meaningful research done, because the investigation process is just incredibly meticulous. And from what I've seen of this department, it is not. It is sloppy, it's roughshod, it's impulsive. They're doing things without any basis. And that's why when you see a lot of people folding to the department's demands, it's such a shame, because these things would fall apart in court. That's the kind of thing that you've seen with the law firms that have stood up to the Trump administration. Universally, they have won. They have been able to fight back. But a lot of people have tried to obey just to make the department go away, even though that central basis, those strong set of facts that used to justify investigations just is not there with this administration, from what I saw.
Can I say, you mentioned the UVA president, and for people that don't know what you're talking about, the University of Virginia president resigned under pressure from the Trump administration. This is from the New York Times. Mr. Ryan, the president, informed the board overseeing the school that he would resign after demands by the Trump administration that he step aside to help resolve a Justice Department inquiry into the school's diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, according to 3 people briefed on the matter. This is happening more and more.
Yes, and I don't doubt his good intentions there. I think a lot of people are waiting for this one big moment when they'll stand up for the rule of law. What I realized in the first few months of the administration was that everything is that moment. You can't pick and choose. When authoritarianism is encroaching the way that it has been since January, every opportunity to stand up is an opportunity for bravery. And I think each time people think, oh, it won't be worth it. It won't matter. It won't change anything. No one will listen. And maybe they won't, but you'll show the person next to you that you were willing to stand up and make it more likely that they will. That courage really would catch fire when people would see it. And just that sense of integrity. You saw it with people like Danielle Sassoon, who resigned over the dismissal of the Eric Adams case. I think her courage really galvanized a lot of people in the department to protect their oaths. But that was something that people really used to take seriously in the department, was a real commitment to nonpartisanship and to their oath to the Constitution. In this administration, the message that we consistently received is that your oath to the Constitution is not what's most important. It's your loyalty to what we want to do. They were not interested in impartial advice about what the Constitution does or does not say. They wanted a pathway to do what they wanted to do anyway, whether it was lawful or not.